We're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Edge on TV, Nigeria's leading initiative in the business of brand management and the management of brand business. It is a 30 minutes awesome packet that comprises brand news, brand focus and industry conversation, all in a mix encompassing thorough and in-depth analysis aimed at promoting the brand idea. I am Oluwabukola Omani. Stay tuned.
Marketing Edge on TV, promoting the brand idea.
We begin Marketing Edge on TV with brand news, where we bring you the latest developments around brands and on the field of marketing and advertising in Nigeria and around the world. Now on brand news. Dr. Rotimi Olaniyan, Principal Consultant at Apex Marketing UK Limited, has stated that one of the biggest problems that Nigeria currently still faces is the death of brands. The enthusiastic brand builder said this has led to intense rivalry as many agencies within the ecosystem have to fight for a very limited number of accounts. The one-time president of the Experiential Marketers Association of Nigeria, X-Man, made this statement during an exclusive interview with Marketing Edge on TV while giving his opinion on the assessment of the advertising industry. He added that there is a direct correlation between the supply, size, and the number of brands within the marketplace and the level and intensity of its marketing communications.
Brands are fundamentally creations, social creations that we give to new businesses, new ideas, new products, new services. In other words, brands, there's a direct correlation between brands or the quantity of brands and the level of innovation that you find in a society or in a market space. Where we seem to be finding innovation, or where there is the potential for the largest amount of innovation, is at that third level, where these young Nigerians who are really trying to do things for themselves, that's where they exist. The problem is that how much brand management do you see at that level in its professional sense? None.
The global sweet biscuit market over the next 5 years is set to experience a significant expansion with a predicted compound annual growth rate of 5.35%. This is according to the data analysis made available by Reportliner research site. It says this growth trajectory indicates an accelerating demand for sweet biscuits worldwide, with factors such as evolving consumer preferences, innovative product introductions, and expanding retail channels contributing to this positive market movement. In Nigeria, the market dynamics and shifts are stimulated by certain trends and drivers amidst rising inflation, as Nigerian biscuit manufacturers are grappling with higher prices of flour, wheat, and sugar, major ingredients for biscuit production, alongside fierce competition. The Nigeria sugar market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 5.14%. to reach $494.1 million by 2027, from $347.8 million in 2020. Research and Market, in its market analysis, revealed that Nigeria is witnessing rapid urbanization and development in food processing, which has boosted people's consumption scale of food and beverage items, thereby simultaneously propelling the scale of sugar consumption. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, in May 2022, domestic sugar consumption in Nigeria stood at 1.62 million tons, which represented an increase of 1.3% in comparison to 2021. Picture Festival's Young Professionals Academy has announced that talents from Media Fuse Denso Nigeria's networks, Denso Creative, Denso Agile, Denso Performance, and Denso Out of Home took home top honors in media, film, and design categories of its Cannes Young Lions competitions. The announcement confirmed that Media Fuse Densu Nigeria talents and other winners from West and Central Africa will represent their countries at the Global Young Lions competition in Cannes, scheduled for June 17th to 21st, 2024. That was brand news. Next is Branding Focus after the break.
Marketing Edge on TV, promoting the bright idea.
In a country with short-lived corporate excellence and a handful of centenary companies, hitting 130 years is undoubtedly a significant milestone for Nigeria's premier financial institution, FirstBank. Experience, they say, comes with age. Nothing else actually defines the consistent growth of FirstBank of Nigeria Limited, and its consistent reinvention as the conscience of corporate Nigeria in the face of rising competition from traditional and other shadow banking brands. Established in 1894 as British Bank of West Africa by the late Sir Alfred Lewis Jones, a shipping magnate, FirstBank has been at the forefront of Nigeria's economic growth and development through its superior banking services and social investments across sectors such as manufacturing, small and medium-scale enterprise, agriculture, oil and gas, and just about every other sector that has contributed to the country's economic discovery. The history of FirstBank is the history of Nigeria. At some point in its history, it served as Nigeria's central bank. Today, as the undisputed leader of the country's brick-and-mortar banking, its nearly 800 business locations across the country give its robust presence in every local government across the nation. Interestingly, the premier institution understands this logic. Hence, it has emerged as a first in continuously investing in cutting-edge financial technologies. First Mobile, its digital banking application, has also become a household name in the financial technology ecosystem. Beyond its name, it has recorded several firsts in the industry it single-handedly created. Some firsts include the first to be listed on the stock exchange, the first amongst existing banks to adopt the use of ATM, and the first Nigerian bank and the second in Africa to reach the 10 million ATM cards issued milestone. It has been 13 decades of rising and growing with Nigeria, but FirstBank is obviously not slowing down in its journey with the country its operation predated. Welcome back. Next is Industry Conversation, where we have discussions with industry thought leaders. My guest today is the Managing Director and CEO of one of Nigeria's leading advertising agency. Join me right after the break.
Marketing Edge on TV, promoting the bright idea.
Welcome back to Industry Conversation. My guest today is the Managing Director and CEO of All Seasons Zenith, Mr. UWEM AFANIDE. I hope I got the name right, sir.
Yes, you did.
Glad to have you join us on the program.
Fantastic. Great to be here.
All right, great. All right, so let's start with your assessment of the macro and micro economic situations of the country. How do you think, I know there have been a lot of reforms aimed at tackling the headwinds. How do you assess the economic situation?
A very interesting question. Two fundamentals that stand out in terms of macro, I would say, are the forex deregulation, number one, and the subsidy removal. Those are the two key standouts in terms of the macro environment and what is currently happening in the country. Its impacts have been much. I would say quite much. Forex deregulation has, I think it came at the right time, although its implication has been far more reaching than a lot of people expected. The government was trying to make sure that they unify, forex unification, unify both the official and the parallel market rates, and that has caused a lot of downside and upside. We have a situation now where you have seemingly unified rates, but the impact on businesses has been huge. I'm sure you would have read over the last couple of months where a lot of companies posted huge losses due to forex deregulation. But the good thing is that I think we are getting to the point of unification. In terms of subsidy removal, the impact of that has been huge on businesses, on individuals, on disposable income. It's been far, far, far reaching. Businesses have to define how they want to operate. You have to watch your OPEX on a daily, monthly basis. You have to just change your modus operandi, how you run on a day-to-day basis. So I think those two macro has impacted on the micro, which we all feel. But I think in the long run, we will see light at the end of the tunnel. I sincerely hope the government has good intentions. We just pray they have the will to pull those intentions through.
Great. So talking about light at the end of the tunnel, what would you say are some of the potentials that investors can lap on, in order to drive home the required profitability and business growth?
So I'll answer that from two sides. Number one, Nigeria is a huge market. So no matter the negatives you hear about Nigeria in the news, investors are still coming to this market. We've got the numbers and the population to drive. You ask yourself every day, you find Chinese companies, you find Indians coming to the market. Are they seeing things that we don't see? So we've got the size and we've got the youthful population to drive growth in all ramifications. All we need is just good policies in order to make sure development and growth are driven. So investors out there are seeing this, and the global bodies, the indicators are showing that growth level for Nigeria is on the rise. So I think there's huge potential for investors. That's on one side. On the other side is, as a business, to drive profitability, you also need to look within your business. Some time ago, I spoke about organic growth. So you need to look within your business and ask yourself, how do I tap into existing potentials within my business, within my current existing business? Are there gaps that I'm not closing up? Are there opportunities that we're not seeing? So look at your current roster of clients, especially in the advertising business that we operate. Look at your current roster of clients and ask yourself, what are the gaps that we are not filling? Are there product innovations that we could come up with that are capable of meeting a client's need? So I think potential for growth is actually huge if you look at the right places at the right time also. Okay,
great. Looking at the right places at the right time. So how would you rate the coping mechanisms of service providers, in the integrated marketing sector, since last year?
If there's anything I've known about this industry that I operate in is resilience. We're a very resilient industry. How many times in the last couple of years have you heard that XYZ agencies folded, or this agency is no longer in operation? So the resilience in this industry is quite... I'll give an example. During COVID, a lot of companies folded. A lot of people expected most advertising agencies to fold. But look at us today. Most agencies, despite the harsh economic conditions, most agencies are still thriving. Though not at the rate they expect to, but they're still staying above what. So resilience is quite key in this industry that I've been in for about 20 years now.
Okay, great. So let's talk about your view of the business performance of media buying and planning. Now, what is your view of that in relation to agencies in the last 2 years?
It's gone through a lot of evolution, I will say. The media planning and buying operations, the way we know it 15, 20 years ago, is no longer the way it is today. There's been a lot of new thinking. There's been a lot of innovation. And one thing that I've come to learn also, as a business, you have to be innovative. You have to move with the times. If you want to operate 10 years model in this day today, it's not going to work. You have to, the consumer in the market we operate is actually the king, and the client pursues the consumers. So an understanding of the consumer and where they are headed is key for the media buying industry. So the thinking has changed. There's been a lot of relearning. We relearn, we learn within the space that we actually operate. And digital has also done a lot of shifting in terms of how we think, how we buy media, how we operate generally. So there's been a huge shift, and as a media independent, you have to move with this shift. Otherwise, you'll be left far, far, far behind.
Okay, I certainly don't want to be left far behind.
You don't want to.
I don't want to. Okay, so let's talk about media advertising and the ad spend. Do you think that media advertising attained and attracted the appropriate or reasonable ad spend last year, considering that we had the 2023 general elections?
That's quite interesting. There was spend. I'll address a question into it. There was spend.
Okay.
But the question that we asked ourselves last year, where did the spend go to? Did it go through the mainstream regulated agencies, or it went through other means? I've spoken to a couple of friends and colleagues within the industry. A lot of mainstream agencies, the spend didn't go through them. So that caused the question of how regulated are we? I think a lot of regulations still need to be put in place to make sure. There was spend, there was huge spend. Election comes with spend. The other side of it is that Q1 of last year for most mainstream agencies was a very bad quarter because advertisers didn't spend so much because of ad cluster within the space. And if the main advertisers are not spending and politicians are spending, and this spend doesn't come through mainstream agency, so that begs the question of where did the spend go to? So Q1 last year was not too good for most agencies, despite the fact there was political money that went through the system, but it didn't go through the regular mainstream.
Oh, that's quite sad. Okay, so still talking about ad spend. Now, what percentage would you say is the growth, that you would attribute to media advertising last year? And do you think, or do you emphasize commensurate growth in the media ad spend this year?
Sure. Last year's globally ad spend was about the growth rate was about 4.48%, according to global sources. And in this market, Nigeria wasn't. I'll use my agency as a benchmark, although it was a tough year for most agencies, but I think there was a bit of negligible growth. In this market, I think the growth was between 6 and 10% for most agencies, using my agency as a benchmark. Globally, it was 4.4%. Into this year, there will be growth. There are a lot of activities lined up for this year that will enable that growth. You've got globally, it's between 6 and 8.8% growth that is expected, and I think that will also reflect down in this market, where I expect our growth rate is usually a bit slightly higher than the global growth rates. I expect growth to be between 10 and 15% in this market. what is driving that, or what are the factors that will drive that? We've got global events happening. We've got the Olympics, which is happening this year. We've got the UEFA men's football, which is happening this year. We've got the US election, which is happening in November. So there are critical factors that will enable global and local media spend to accelerate this year. So yes, potentially, I think there'll be growth this year.
So if you were to put a figure to it, what would be your projection for the media advertising
locally
spend?
or globally? Globally, I just told you it's been projected to grow between 6 and 8.8%.
I mean, what do you think? I want to get your opinion.
Without giving you my own internal projections, I think, to be on the safe side, I see growth in this market between 10 and 15%. In terms of media spend. That is media coming through mainstream advertising agencies. Yes. Okay,
great. So let's move away from that. Let's talk about audience measurement system. Now, I know that for the industry, there has been a lot of challenges. Now, what do you think is the way forward for audience measurement system?
This has been a recurring decimal or recurring question being asked. I think the fundamental challenge in audience measurement in this country is data and financing, but critically financing. There's been talk, there's been bodies set up, even the federal government has set up a body to look into audience measurement in this country, but fundamentally is the funding to carry it out that has been the problem. Industry bodies have called memorandum, they've called different bodies to come together, advertisers, could you jump on the bandwagon to support media agencies, creative agencies? There's been a whole lot going on with this audience measurement thing, but I think the bane of it is on funding. And without funding, you can't, audience measurements and delivery is about funding. Without the right funding, we won't be able to pull this. So we need the right funding. We need everyone to come on board to support it, and then you'll see how we can fly.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the current position of television.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that in the overall media space or entertainment mix, would you say that it's growing? Would you say it's growing, or is it stagnant? That's its consumption for television. Is it growing or is it stagnant?
Television should be seen from different angle. Television, in my opinion, has been democratized. TV, the way it is no longer the way TV is these days. You've got linear TV, which is what you and I know, your day-to-day terrestrial TV. You've got cable TV. You've got VOD, video on stream, video on demand, rather. You've got digital TV. So television has been democratized. So the question is which TV is growing and which is not growing. But irrespective of that, Nigeria is a critical TV market. And when I say TV market, it's a TV market, both linear and cable. So TV is not generally declining, but you ask yourself, which of these TV platforms is actually growing? Video on demand is growing, which is streaming. Digital TV, Facebook, YouTube on the growth. Linear, is not, in my opinion, is not declining. If you look at media penetration from the data we have, it's been steady in terms of viewership. It's not declining, but it's not growing rapidly as much as the other forms of TV that we know. And these other forms of TV are driven by internet penetration and digital. So TV for me is still a mainstay in this market.
Marketing Edge on TV, promoting the bright idea.
And that's the much we can take on this week's episode of Marketing Edge on TV. Join us same time next week for the concluding part of our conversation with Mr. UWEM AFANIDE. I'm Oluwabukola Omoni. Bye for now.